The genius Lanny Poffo. Come on up next. Come on, genius. Give it up. 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 Party Animal Radio. I want to thank you guys all for coming out tonight. And here we are ready for the headliners. It's time. Let's ready to rumble. Genius.
Thank you, sir. All right, Lanny.
Thank you very much. I'm a little tired, I admit. I just flew in from Tampa, and I'm kind of old school, as you can tell. And I believe, never mind all the fancy stuff, nothing makes me stronger and more alert when I'm tired than a nice, strong cup of black coffee. I mean, I've tried other enemas. But trying to make people laugh, it really came easily to me. You know, I'm a one-time loser, I am divorced, and every time I tried to make love with my wife, she would always laugh at me, no matter what she was reading. But I am a little nervous, a little insecure, and I don't drink. I honestly don't drink. But a lot of you saw me nursing a beer. And I admit my nipples are a little soggy. Wow. I know what you're thinking. Truth is, I'm going to be 57 years old this month.
All right, happy birthday.
I know you're doubting my prowess, but I hate to brag, but I buy my condoms 12 at a time. January. You know, people always ask me, because the genius is a tough name to live up to. They ask me, am I really a genius? Well, all I can tell you is, I played chess with a computer. Okay, I lost. But I beat the shit out of it at kickboxing. Now, does anybody have any questions at all? Anybody?
You like baseball. What do you think about the Albert Pujols situation?
Whoa. You know, when I flew in, it was Thursday, and because I had a few other bookings to attend to, and everybody was all morose about Albert Pujols. I am a Chicago Cubs fan.
Ow!
Wait a minute. Anybody can have a bad century.
Or two.
Or two.
I'm a fan too, so.
Okay, the situation is, with Albert Pujols, and seriously, I think about Curt Flood, and anytime any baseball player can get more money, then good for them. I think it's going to be a win-win-win-win-win-win situation. First of all, it's going to be a win for Albert Pujols. It's going to be a win for the St. Louis Cardinals because they've freed up a lot of money. And it's also going to be a win for the California Angels of Anaheim because they've got the greatest player now. Did you have another question?
What about a poem? You know, poems. What about a poem?
Well, I had the opportunity to meet one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived. And let me just tell you the poem. Okay. Through all of the magnificence that is Joe Robbie Stadium, the Marlins and the Dolphins' happy home, it gives me pride to introduce a man who was to baseball what Romulus and Remus were to Rome. Take 95 until you hit the Massachusetts Turnpike. Get off at Fenway Park and there you are. We're back in 1941. This man hit 406. And even now, Ted Williams had no par. America anticipated every turn of bat to watch him knock the ball to smithereens. 521 home runs are even more incredible because he gave 5 years to the Marines. The boys who wrote the sports page never did him any favors, but for Cooperstown they had to tell the truth. That Theodore Samuel Williams brought a splendor to the game, reminiscent of the late George Herman Ruth. And then he hugged me and he started crying and he said, if I'd have had you for a press agent, I'd have never had any problems. And folks, I met Ted Williams and it was a great thrill. And did you have one more question? What was that?
Well, I asked you earlier about Casey at the bat, because you had so many poems, read a book one time, you did a take on Casey at the bat or something like that?
Okay, but has anybody heard Casey at the Bat? It's very famous.
Yeah.
It did as much for baseball in 1888 as was the night before Christmas did for Santa. Okay, and it was actually William Randolph Hearst newspaper and his friend Ernest Thayer that, I don't sound like much of a comedian right now, I'm sorry, but
Ask the question.
and this will be my last one, and then I'm going to introduce the greatest intercontinental champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man. But before I do, I'm going to give you Ernest Thayer's poem. What if his sister's name was Ethel? Then her name would be Ethel Thayer. She must have a speech impediment or something. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville 9 that day. The score stood 4-2 with just a winning. Okay, wait a second. Maybe I better not do this. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville 9 that day. The score stood 4-2 with but 1 inning left to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope that springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey could get but a whack at that, we'd put up even money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake. And the former was a Lulu, and the latter was a cake. So upon the stricken multitude grim melancholy sat, for it seemed but little chance of Casey's getting to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment.